I'm a big fan of games with interesting high concepts, premises that grab your attention by themselves. With a good enough high concept, even a game that doesn't do anything new with its gameplay can be a compelling and super fun experience. But a game works even better when it can be paired with gameplay that harmonizes with that high concept, to make a good experience unforgettable. That's easier said than done. A great high concept is a fantastic starting point when making a new game, but developing it into a real, playable, fun game is a lot harder. There's a game that I've been playing lately that underscores this perfectly. Let's talk about Battle Chef Brigade and see how Trinket Studios took a stellar idea and adapted it, for better and for worse. Battle Chef Brigade is... well, it's a lot of things actually. It's part Iron Chef, part 2D brawler, and part Match 3 style puzzler, echoing Puyo Puyo and the Puzzle League series. With a quaint anime style, sparse in animation, but with a whisper of that Studio Ghibli charm. The game takes place in a society built around the Battle Chef Brigade, a league of super chefs who serve as judges, investigators, scientists, bodyguards, and of course cooks. You play as Mina Han, who is driven to leave her sleepy country town to compete for the right to join their ranks. To get in, she'll have to prevail in a yearly tournament heavily inspired by the 90s Japanese cooking show Iron Chef. A one-on-one competition with picky judges, philosophizing on cuisine, and an eccentric chairman running the show. The tone is light and upbeat, and the characters are all very likable as Mina and her newfound friends deal with the ups and downs of the competition and discover hidden secrets of the other battle chefs and of the world. The setting feels cohesive and lived in, and the narrative makes the single-player campaign way more interesting than most other single-player puzzle games. Start to finish, the game is really fun, and I recommend it for its interesting premise and varied design. It's good, but now let's talk about how it's bad. As you spend more time with the game, some things might start to feel a bit off, out of place, tacked on. Given the game's Iron Chef premise, the world the game exists in feels appropriate, the Ghibli-esque style makes sense, the narrative structure is fine, but the gameplay mechanics... something's off here. So what's going on that makes the combat and puzzle sections feel a bit disconnected? Battle Chef's gameplay flips between two halves, hunting and cooking. When you face off against another chef, you need to literally hunt for the ingredients you need to cook in a 2D brawler akin to Odin Sphere, Dust and Elysian Tale, or Guardian Heroes. Slaying a dragon or slashing a sun hat tomato will let you pick up ingredients to take into the kitchen. Once you've gathered your ingredients, you can start preparing your dishes in the game's cooking mode. Here, you drop ingredients in one of your cooking vessels, a 4x4 board. Each ingredient is made up of a few taste gems, essentially elements. Light up the fire and move a cursor around to stir the board and swirl around the gems. Line up 3 gems of the same flavor, and they'll combine into one upgraded gem, which you can do again up to a level 3. Each cooking vessel can give you bonuses like only matching 2 gems to upgrade, or slowly upgrading gems automatically. Keep adding ingredients, stir to upgrade, maybe combine 2 dishes into one, try to keep the poison out of your dish, match the flavor profile with the judge, and serve before time runs out. The combat is not the best, with some really bad hitboxes, imbalanced movesets, and a very limited scope. You can pick up a few different combat moves in the store to try out, but your moveset is pretty complete from the beginning of the game. The game's cookable monsters are pretty limited too, less than a dozen types per map. The ingredients you get for slaying a monster drop randomly, which makes piecing together a strategy a little less predictable, but not really in a fun way. Every monster spawns in the same place, so it doesn't really feel like hunting the wilds for what you need either. It's go here for the wind fruit, over here for the Amarok spawn, and here's the sauce chest. Every round. The combat section also tries to incorporate an interesting ecosystem idea. If you kill a monster and let the ingredients get eaten by other monsters, new ingredients can appear. Birds lay eggs, plants turn into bugs, and so on. A living ecosystem could be an interesting risk-reward system when combined with the round timer, but the game doesn't give enough of an incentive to use it. The ingredients you get are not that special, and they can take too much of your limited time to set up. Back over in the cooking section, the game feels a little off here too. Battle Chef Brigade is clearly inspired by Puzzle League, a fantastic series of tile-swapping match 3 games, but Battle Chef Brigade changes a lot of the underlying strategic elements. Tetris Attack, for example, has only 5 or 6 different gem types and a bigger board to use. The board in Battle Chef Brigade feels claustrophobic in comparison. A 4x4 grid with essentially 11 different gem types feels crowded and hard to make matches in. The strategy in all Puzzle League games centers around carefully setting up combos and clearing a bunch of gems in big chains, which then sends hard to clear garbage blocks over to your opponent's board. There are combos in Battle Chef Brigade as well, but they don't cause blocks to be sent over to mess with your opponent. Setting up chains of clears doesn't build the combo, and the combos only help upgrade a gem one level, which isn't that tough to do normally, and can be done easier through some of the other tools like slow cookers. The combo system is just there, left over. Even some of the mechanics feel like an echo of another design. For example, you have to light the stove after adding ingredients to start matching gems. Doing that as a separate action might have made more sense if combos had to be carefully set up, and then you could trigger the start of the chain. If combos don't matter as much, then that design choice feels out of place. The tweaks made to the mechanics in the cooking section make the game have a problem with its first order optimal strategies. The best moves to make don't change much game to game, and make the game a bit too predictable. Unlike Tetris Attack, you and your opponent don't really interact much in Battle Chef Brigade. There's nothing you can do to sabotage or even to know whether or not your dish is better than your opponent's while you're making it. Your opponent is not much more than a points threshold. Your best bet is to always make a board that looks something like this or something like this. Get close to that and use all the right colored gems for each judge and you'll win every time, even on the hard difficulty. Mix in some of the bonuses for special recipes like an all-vegetarian meal, and you'll be like fantasy anime Julia Child. Target a few specific ingredients, mix them together in the same way, and you'll just win. You don't have to adapt to anything. Tetris Attack makes you adapt. Puyo Puyo makes you adapt. But in Battle Chef, it feels more like you're just following a recipe.
Haha, get it? Do you get it? Do you get it?
I get it.
Okay, good.
So yeah, the game's brawler and puzzle mechanics are a little disappointing at a strategic level, but if you know the game's development history, it's at least understandable. In 2014, Battle Chef Brigade was funded on Kickstarter, making $100,000 on a tiny $38,000 goal. The Kickstarter shows off the game's great visual style and its unique theme, but if you look closely at the pitch video, you can see how the game's mechanics progressed. In an interview with Monstervine, Eric Huang, head artist for Trinket Studios, said he had fallen in love with Guardian Heroes' 2D combat, and knew he wanted that style in Battle Chef Brigade. The Kickstarter video shows off the hunting section of the game, which seems largely intact in the final product, but the cooking side is completely different. It wasn't a match 3 game. There were references to sweet and sour flavors instead of elements. Very little of what was shown in that video made it into the released game. Huang says that the puzzle side was the last thing to get nailed down. In order for us to get to the idea of food done in a match 3, it actually took us a year because we tried so many different things. Our first tries at cooking systems were way too cumbersome and not fun to play. So finally, we decided how we abstract the flavors of our ingredients into elements like fire, water, earth. A year before release, they gave out a demo to Kickstarter backers. In the demo, the match 3 mechanics are shown off, but some of the cooking vessels had the tiles move around like Yoshi's Cookie as shifting rows and columns. The combo system actually did matter more and contributed to your point total. Nailing down the final design of the cooking half of the game wasn't done until after that 2016 demo. That could mean the developers had less time to fully playtest the game with an eye toward the strategic depth of the system they had created, and could explain why the game's mechanics don't mesh quite as well when compared to a more focused puzzle game like Tetris Attack. Borrowing elements from other games can be a great foundation to build from, especially on a time crunch. but the balance of a game can be very delicate. Take away game elements, change context, or add too many new ideas and that foundation can crack. Despite the problems in hunting and cooking, the really interesting thing is that the game still works. Just barely. The key is how the game forces you to keep shifting gears. Put this on the stove, then quick, get more stuff. Now your bag is full, so drop it off in the kitchen. Cook more, stir, go back for more green gems, come back, serve one last thing to add. Oh god, 5 seconds left. Serve and time. The game doesn't let you sit still long enough to get too bored or annoyed at any one part of the game. The satchel limit for picking up items keeps you from hunting for too long in one stretch. Some of the pots encourage you to start cooking early in the round, so you're bouncing between cooking and hunting. If the game stuck you in the hunting section for much longer than it does, the game would bog down. If the game forced you into the puzzle section for longer than it does, you'd run out of stuff to do. Even between cooking rounds, the puzzle, hunting, and restaurant minigames keep battles from becoming a slog. By hopping from station to station, the game comes together, even if each part of it could work better. Battleship Brigade is a game with an amazing high concept, an interesting story, and fun gameplay, even if it doesn't have the deep strategic foundation of the games it's inspired by. So many parts of the game don't stand up to scrutiny on their own, but the game as a whole is better than the sum of its parts. This is the exact kind of game that could use a sequel. Given a bigger budget and more time to work out the kinks in the different gameplay systems, Battleship Brigade has the potential to be a spectacular series.